Hey guys, Thomas from Team Sakuraso here, come at you guys with a 5 card to have in your trade binder for November. Now, if you guys don't know what this series is, I go into depth for 5 cards that you need to get right now in trade before they skyrocket in the near future. So you guys love this series. I try to do it once a month, and you guys know the drill. If I get 100 likes on this video, I do a part 2 within the same month. So if you're looking for a more deeper market watch-esque video, you found the right place. Subscribe if you haven't already. And before we get to it, check out the sponsors, the Discord, all that in the comment section below. And we're going to get right into our first pick. Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid Neo Tempest. Now, this card got a reprint in the tins, and the secret rare right now is currently $1.40, $1.50 here. Why am I telling you guys to go ahead and grab this card? It's because we are going to see a big meta shakedown, and while we see decks, especially fire related decks like Snake Eyes, kind of exit the meta, get hit really hard, the new decks we're seeing when we get crossover breakers are going to be Ryzel and Malice. I personally believe, like many others, Malice is going to come up on top instead of Ryzel. And even if you disagree with that statement, I don't think a lot of people are going to be disagreeing, seeing how they're going to be the top 2 decks when they come out. Now, Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid is part of the end board of Malice. This card has stayed consistent with deck builds, not just in the TCG, but the OCG, because, you know, we cook here and we see what we could do with our stuff, maybe our exclusives, and then we look at the OCG, and this card has seen play in almost every build I've seen. Now, this card, when we had the original Ultra, always had value around $3 to $7, even upwards to 10 for a Firewall card. And this is actually part of their end board, by the way. So they end on this as well as other interrupts. And this helps set something with the graveyard up. It's pretty good. And if you're playing Malice, which if you're a meta player or not, we're going to see this card spike up. Seeing these at $1.44, okay, yeah, there's 60 listings. But guys, we've seen what meta cards can be at, right? 26 listings. People don't want to crack open the tins because they have been harmed by Bonanza. Cards like Thrust, cards like Bonfire, cards like SB Little Knight, right, have been affected because, hey, yeah, they were great reprints in the tins, but if we're going to get them more accessible and more reprints right away a month later in Bonanza, less people want to open up that set. And yeah, $1.50 here, I would suggest getting a playset while you can. This is a very good penny stock. I could personally see this card going up to about $4 to $5, possibly higher. But for a $1-ish card, I always talk about this in my Market Watch videos. Everyone expects their cards to go up to the moon and sell it at this skyrocketed price. They don't look at what they can realistically sell it at. I think when you look at dollar cards, $1.50, when they go up to $3 to $5, that's kind of pretty good. It's not that it has to be their ceiling, but I can easily see Firewall, Dragon, Dark Fluid at least hitting those price points, possibly going higher. It could go to $10. Again, I would get a set or even 2 while you can. With these penny stocks, you could even get possibly more. Again, I am not a financial advisor, but that's the first card I have for today. I do also want to show off the CR before we go on to the next card, because the CR is bought out at $50 to going up to $100. People know, hey, this card's being played in Mouse, so they're gravitating towards the CR since this is the highest rarity of the card until we get it, I don't know, in QC, because knowing Konami, why not, right? It's a Firewall card. Let's just make it QC. I could see in the future. That's why I'm a little hesitant to recommend the CR. When this card was dropped down, and you guys could see this here, to about like $10, I actually said 10 to 12 is very good for it back then, because of how it sees play. Even, you know, collectors liked it before we saw the introduction of Malice. And yeah, if you got a 10, good job. The second card I have today is Area the Water Charmer QC. Now, I thought this card was actually very underrated when we got in Bonanza, not only because of how large that set is, so it's very hard to pull whatever you want from the cheap cards to the more expensive cards, but the pre-sale was also quite good. Now, these are around $9 here, and you guys might be wondering, why am I recommending area? Well, there is a couple reasons. Now, the first one is that we are in the year of water, right? We're going to get more water support that's generic. We're going to get more good water cards. And like we had the year of fire, where we had a lot of cards that were good for fire go up. Now we're going to do that with water, essentially. And during that time where fire was dominating, like Snake Eyes Fire King, just Snake Eyes, right? When we were playing Rescue Ace, there was one card that was seeing a lot more play and kept getting bought out, and that was Hida. Now, the Starlight was bought out at points and went a lot higher in price. So was the Super Rare from OTS. And it was seeing play in the meta, all that. With the Year of Water, I see Area duplicating that pattern. And right now for the QC, it's $9. The presale was 10, and I actually went over this in my Mark Watch. If you guys have not been watching those, hey, what are you doing? Go back and watch my Mark Watches. Well, they were like 6s, 7-ish, right? 7.5. And I said, whoa, that's way too cheap. And then today, they're $9. But guys, this is not anywhere close to the ceiling I believe this card can hit, right? People would go crazy for Charmers. They always have, always will, right? It's very collectible. People just love collecting them. They love the Charmers with the lore. Konami even actually went on a limb and gave us a structure deck. Well, they had good reprints. The structure deck failed on many levels. But that's how popular and how much appeal the Charmers have just to the Yu-Gi-Oh fandom because of like their lore, designs, cute girls doing cute things, right? However you want to spin it. So to see the QC, especially Area, which is actually quite popular, this cheap is actually kind of crazy, especially when the Starlight was very hard to get. This was actually, and the graphs might not show this, they're going to show it a little bit, was very, very high. And while this has crashed down, you still see them at a relatively $300 price point. There was no point where this Starlight was cheap. I remember when it came out 5 years ago. Yes, Area is a 5-year-old card. Actually, no, Echo's a 2020 set. 4.5. Oh, man, not 5 years. But still, this card is very popular. I would go ahead and grab your copies while you can. I think a set would be pretty good. But again, you could grab as many as you want here. I definitely see this seeing a lot of meta play in the future. And hey, if it's collectible as well and hard to pull, you can't suffer from it. For our third card today, we have Thunder King Ryo, the Platinum Secret Rare. And I am so happy Konami finally decided to reprint this after the common was anywhere from $6 to $7 to $10. Just, again, for a common. Remember, this had 2 common prints, so this reprint was long overdue. But guys, before I tell you why to get this, remember, smash that like button and subscribe. It's only a few clicks. You guys know I give great information, so why not come on, join the fun, and 100 likes on this video, you guys will get a part 2 in November, right? So more cards to get that are under the radar, and all you have to do is click a button. Sounds like a done deal. You can even click that notification bell because you're not going to want to miss my uploads. The algorithm does screw me time to time a little more than usual, so it does help me out to hit that notification bell. And we're going to get into this card. So this card was, and I want to show the proof here. This card, again, was like $7 for a common. Was all the way up to like $8, right? And it's still even money for the common because these just aren't very common. Even these gold rares, guys, $11, $12. And premium gold rare is usually considered one of the worst gold rares. So why am I telling you guys to get the platinum? While I don't usually recommend getting a QCR or platinum because Edison players don't really see that as a high rarity or they want to play cards from back then, I definitely don't discourage it. Play obviously what rarity you like and what's affordable. And speaking of affordable, the Platinum Secret Rare is going to save you money because instead of spending $4 or $5 on a common, you're spending $5 on a platinum, right? These look a lot nicer than a common, especially some of the older ones. The plats look very, very nice, and it's a cool looking holographic version. Edison players are looking at this as, oh, we finally get our reprint for Thunder King Ryo. Let's go grab this. And Konami, unfortunately, from what I've noticed, tends to not really like reprinting stuff after rarity collection. So if they put something in rarity collection, they're not usually going to have a reprint of it for a long time, since giving it 7 different rarities is usually enough for a while. Unfortunately, though, with Bonanza, we have cards separated from the main and side pool, or nostalgia pool, and the nostalgia pool only has plat or QC. So this card only really had 2 reprints here in this set. $5 for your plats. This can easily go up to $10 because if the common's going to go up to 7 or 8, the plat's going to go up to 7 or 8, probably even $10. If the common goes to $10, this plat's going to hit 10 to $13, $14 here. I'm only saying the common may somewhat match this just because people do like the old text on these cards. Similar to like Edison with Sangan, you'd rather play an older version of Sangan just because it has the old text, so it's harder to get confused about, because some cards have changed with rule changes, erratas, etc. So people like to play the old versions because not only does it bring them back to that point, but while reading the card, it makes rulings easier. It's something I've noticed and I've actually done. I actually made a huge misplay with Sangan because I was thinking about the pre-errata version in Edison, not the errata version, because I was playing an errata copy, and it ended up screwing me over. So it's like a rule that a lot of Edison players follow. This card is also good in Hat, and again, as Hat gets more popular and Thunder King sees play there, well, now you have Edison, but now you have Plat, right? So you go from 1 format to 2 formats demanding this card. Commons were 4 to 5, could have easily gone up, but players are going to probably get this platinum. Now, 5 to 6 goes up to $6. This is a very good price for this. However, I would put this just a little bit on the back burner because these are stocking up, so people might try to, you might find them for 4s, right? And obviously, when it comes to the market and buying stuff, even if you're in a good, bad position anywhere across the board, saving money is always a smart move, right? Even if it's $1, right? You get your set for 12 instead of 15. Well, that's $3 extra for, say, like a penny stock card, right? Or, you know what? Just to sit in your bank account doesn't really matter. So I would keep an eye out on this card. Maybe look at the other cards I have here. 5 is not a bad point to grab this, but I did see the 53 listings here, and I definitely see them not fully piling up since it is going upwards to $6 here, but just keep an eye out on this card while you can. The QCs, by the way, are 26 to, again, $30 here. For the 4th card, we have Elzet of the White Forest. Now, why am I telling you guys to pick up a White Forest card? Well, that is because when we get Supreme Darkness, we're getting more White Forest support, and the cards in there actually allow White Forest to become more of a deck by itself. It has less reliance on the other engines, and it sets up more new combo plays are still being discovered right now. And while this card was pretty high for good reason, because we've been seeing White Forest Runic, we've been seeing White Forest with not Snake Eye, but Diabellstar, right? And those builds have actually been pretty good. However, I looked back and Elsets right now are 27. This card was selling a lot higher at the 36. You see a big drop there, then a big spike. This card definitely knows how to bounce up and down, but we all know Yu-Gi-Oh players. They love to wait till the last second, not the last minute, the last second to get their cards for an archetype that's seeing support here. So once we get Supreme Darkness, people are going to be rushing for their White Forest cards, and the prices are going to go up. And Elzet is definitely still one of the best cards to open up in any version of White Forest that you decide to play. Elzet is a 3 of with how good this card is. I think that deck is actually going to become a lot better, especially with the ban list. If, depending on how the Diabellstar engine gets hit, it will also still be really good with that. And again, when we see Snake Eyes and all the other decks get hit, I actually do see White Forest possibly going up a tier or half a tier. Maybe not as good as something like Full Power Malice, but definitely a deadly deck in the format, with the Diabellstar build being one of the better versions right now, and seeing how Konami has reprinted Wanted and Black Witches for very, very cheap. People are actually kind of gravitating towards that build because it's a lot cheaper And the deck could set up some nasty negates and interrupts with the Azami cards as well. I actually will be maybe showcasing a deck profile slash replays with this, and I've actually been cooking with it. And a lot of players are actually really excited for it because it's already a lot better than people think right now. But once we get that Supreme Darkness support, I could see these cards going up to the moon. You do have the QC though. I want to talk about this version as well at $73. We've seen this card when we go to a year. Now, it doesn't really show well on the graph, but this card is constantly selling at the $70 mark. But if you guys have been watching my work watches for a while, or if you wait for me to scroll all the way down to the bottom, this card was 90s to like 100s for some time as well. Definitely a QC that I would be looking at. But I think you're good either way, secret or QC. I think they'll both go up, but players most likely would rather have a set of this card to play rather than say just one QC. I did also want to throw you guys a bonus card before we go to the fifth and final card. So this is not the fifth card. This is a bonus card. I always end up making this 6 cards to have your trade binder, but that doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it? Diabell, Queen of the White Forest is also a card that's going to see more play because remember, any type of floodgate that's good in the game, if you decide to play Foolish Burial Goods, or there's a way to send it a card like that to the graveyard, this card gets any spell or trap to what's called from the grave to your hand, right? You literally target a spell trap in your graveyard at your hand, right? There has been plays with White Forest Runic, for example, where they've Foolish Burial Skill Drain, and with, Foolish Burial Goods, got it back with Diabell, and boom, you're searching Skill Drain, essentially. These are like $3 here. They were closer to 2 a little while ago, but you guys see the spike up here. I can see this card at least going to about $6-7. Not only is this card one of the better cards, and they usually make this turn 1, but I would recommend it over these two. Not that they're not great to get, but hey, secret rares are going to be harder to obtain than ultra rares because you get 2 secrets a box, not 4. And a lot of people were more hesitant to kind of get rid of a secret rare than an ultra from main sets. So keep that in mind. You might want to get this while you can. I can see it spiking up to 5 or 6 here. But yeah, the White Forest stuff, you don't want to sleep on it. If it's a deck you're interested in, or you want to get these before they spike for whatever reason, hey, here you go. Our fifth and final card for this 5 cards of your trade binder is Red Eyes Insight QC. I don't know why the QC doesn't have a picture, but the plat does, but that's how it is. These right now are $3 to $5 to $6. And before I get into this, guys, if you're buying anything on TCG Player, please use my link down in the description below. It helps out the channel to no additional cost to you. And if you love my work and you want to support me, the best way to do it is to consider being a YouTube channel member. I have quite a few tiers for you guys to kind of choose from. I have cheap tiers, and I think the cheapest tier is actually only like $2 a month. So if you want to support me, you get cool emotes to use as well, which is really awesome for live streams and all that, even for like the lowest tier. And you guys get channel member only videos. So consider being a channel member if you can. Obviously, take care of yourself first. And we're going to get into this last card. Red Eyes Insight QC. Why am I telling you guys to grab this right now? Well, not only is it for the previous reasons I told you guys to kind of get these QC cards, because the list of Bonanza is a lot bigger, and the pool ratios make it so that a lot of these cards are hard to grab, so play sets are hard to have, etc., etc. Which I did not expect this card to be as low as it is. Now, if Dragoon is ever relevant or good enough in the game, this card will soar, because there are decks that have topped by just being Dragoon Turbo, right? Commons were up to like $12 at one point, because this card had a rare and a common, with the common and rare being as high as 15 at one point, and have always stayed around set 5 to 15, usually around the $7 to $10 mark. It was always a high demand card, and a card I was always begging Konami to please give us an OTS Super in. With Red Eyes Insight being as cheap as it is for the QC, if people are willing to pay at some point $7 to $15, yeah, they'll pay $10 for a QC, absolutely. So sees them this low, and even right now, they're spiking to that $6 mark, right? So nothing you're going to want to sleep on here. In fact, the second page, I'll actually look at it, goes up to 15. So definitely a card you don't want to sleep on. But I also want to give you guys another reason. Now, we are getting Blue Eyes support. As you guys know, we have the structure deck coming out next year. And I always tell people whenever we get some type of DM nostalgia support, it's always usually Blue Eyes. And then Dark Magician follows suit. However, we have also had times like with Clash of Rebellions where we got Red Eye support. And I think that Konami, whenever we get these like droves of legacies of DM support, not legacy support, DM support specifically, they like to kind of go through it. And I know that Konami will give us Red Eye support eventually. And when they do, this card not only lets you send any Red Eyes monster to grave, and we all know that the graveyard is essentially a second hand, but letting you set up a grave and search any Red Eye spell, right? And the only restriction is that you can only activate one, right? This card is pretty great, especially because it is cost to send. So that way, let's say your opponent ashes this, because let's be real, adding the fusion is not a fun time per se, or they negate this with some type of card. Look, at least you got to pay cost and foolish that card. Definitely a card a lot of people have not been looking at when we look at Bonanza, because let's be real, this set is so big, I don't think there's a lot of people who really know how many cards, including myself, I am guilty of it too, of memorizing this set, because I know in a month or later, or whenever I'm looking at this set, I'm gonna be like, huh, I forgot this card came in it. We're mostly talking about the nostalgia pool. The main set I've memorized pretty well, but you know, going up here to 15, getting these at $3 to $5 is pretty good. Now, before I log off, remember guys, if you want another video of this, make sure we get 100 likes on this video and subscribe. If I could get like even 10 or 15 subs off this, I will be grateful. Voice crack. God, oh my gosh, the voice crack. Guys, I'm still sick, recovering. So sorry about that. Check out one of my beautiful videos over here. Join my Discord because we have a lot of cool penny stocks. We have a market watch tab. We have older format tabs. It's awesome. Go check it out. And let me know today what one of these cards were your favorite out of the 5 and why. I love listening and talking to my community. You guys know it. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.